It's not just about giving a man a fish. It's about teaching a man to fish. And once the man knows how to fish, he has an unspoken aura. Something changes about him that makes that money much more valuable.
It's detectable.
And it's detectable. Being a rich dork who just found some money on a crypto pump is not a life worth living. You need to make that money, because as you make that money, you learn everything about negotiation, networking. You learn everything about stress and hard work and determination. And it is those things that is going to change your soul and forge you into a man which is respected by your peers and also respected by the females that you're trying to attract. And they're going to look at you in a way where they're going to know, I can actually trust this man. He didn't find this money. He didn't get this money lucky. He earned it. He's the kind of man who never fails and never loses. And that's why it's so important that you earn money. Even if I could give you all $1 million right now, I wouldn't do it. It wouldn't be good for you. It would be detrimental for you. Most of you are not ready for wealth. You have to go out there and earn it yourselves.
Being average is not acceptable anymore. At all. It's not acceptable anymore. And it's not acceptable in the sexual marketplace, but it's also just not acceptable, I don't think, even in life anymore. Period. You have to diversify now so much to even protect yourself. The idea that you can just be a law-abiding citizen in a country and just work your job and be okay is gone. It's gone. If COVID doesn't prove that, I don't know what will. Yeah. Look at my situation. You have to diversify. You have to be smart enough that you have assets and friends and capability and lawyers and whatever all over the world now. That's the only way to protect yourself. You can't just sit within one jurisdiction and go, oh, well, but I don't speed, so it's going to be okay. I don't think it is. I think it's coming to a point where it's not going to be okay. And AI is going to make it harder and harder, again, for those average men. It's going to be harder and harder. I don't think the exceptional men are ever going to suffer from AI. I think we're going to use AI. So many men say, I want to be the man, but they don't want to suffer. They don't want to fight. And I don't understand why, because even if you look at a superhero movie, they tell you, even in superhero movies, they make it very clear. Batman's parents died. That's why he's Batman. All the bad things have to happen. There's no way to get there without the bad things. I get so many emails from people complaining about their bad things, and I don't have time to reply to any of them, but if I could, I'd say, good luck, congratulations, off you go. Of course she broke your heart. Of course you're sad. Of course you miss her. She's with me now. That's life. That's part of it. That's the only way you're going to get to that level of resilience. You can't become the man any other way.
Manhood is exceptionally hard, and life is hard. But how you shape yourself will determine how hard it is for you and how miserable it will be. I've said this many times in many different iterations on different podcasts, but I want to repeat it again. As a man, there is no easy life. If you're looking for an easy life, you should have been a girl. You made a mistake.
Yep.
Your life is not about being easy. Your life is not about being happy. Your life is always going to be difficult. All of the pain you feel, all of the sadness you feel, you're supposed to feel as a man, and you have two effective binary choices. You either go through the suffering and go through the trauma and go through the hardship it takes to be a man of value, or you suffer eternity as a nobody. And being invisible, I would argue, is almost worse. You can have a very stress-free life if you work in Starbucks. You don't care about the Starbucks once you clock off. You're not at work at the time. You go home, you play video games, and you exist until you die. That's stress-free, but you have to suffer being a nobody. Alternatively, you can go out there into the world, try and implement your mark on the world, work hard, try to get rich, more money, more problems. You can try and start a business, the stress of that. You can lose your girlfriend because all you're doing is working. This is a new level of stress, a new level of trauma, but at least you'll be a somebody at the end of it. There's two ways to suffer. You either suffer to become a somebody, or you suffer as a perpetual and forever nobody.
This is what amazes me when men go, I struggle with motivation. How can you struggle with motivation in the modern world? Are you asking to just lose? Are you asking to just be erased from humanity? Yep. Are you asking to be invisible? How can you be an 18-year-old man and say, I don't have the motivation to train as hard as possible and get as rich as possible? You are born to lose if you don't have motivation at 18. In the modern world, as competitive as it is, all those girls, those 18-year-old girls you go to school with, are talking to some 28-year-old man with a yacht somehow. And you're sitting there lonely and you don't have motivation? You must be out of your mind. The only way to win this game is to become as powerful as possible. It's difficult, and it's getting harder and harder. And this is why I teach the things I teach to men. You can't just be Joe Schmo and win anymore. Those days are over. You have to be something else. This is how life works. There's no way to the top besides the difficulty and the pain and the trauma. I'm really flabbergasted that there's men out here who still believe they're going to somehow become something of importance without it. Of course she broke your heart. Good. I'm tired of people complaining and crying about it. That's the game. That's the life.
Emotions are extremely important. I don't like that a lot of men are out here saying, don't feel emotions. No, feel emotions, be stoic, control them, but master them. But you're a human. And as a human, you need to have some degree of emotionality about you, and women will respect you if you have a range of emotions that they can detect, that they know are used in the right way, at the right capability that you can control, that allow you to be the most competitive version of yourself. If you want to be that person, you have to have a certain mindset. And that's what my mindset is. It's not even about, this is what's interesting. It's not even about truth. And I know that sounds crazy. It's not so much of me looking and going, what's true? It's more about me believing in what I need to believe to be as successful as possible. I understand that it's truthful that if somebody shoots me with a gun, I'm probably going to die. But I will not believe that because I don't think that's advantageous to me. I believe it's advantageous for me to say, go on, then shoot me. I guarantee you you're dead. I guarantee you I ain't going to die and I'm coming for you. And if I truly believe it, I think it gives me a better chance. That's just who I am. I only believe and say and think the things that give me as much power as humanly possible. That's just the guy I am. And as many people are going to sit there and say, Tate, you're delusional, you're a narcissist. You go through the world saying you're super lucky and that you're bulletproof and you can do all these crazy things. It's impossible for you to be depressed. You're a narcissist. Perhaps. Look at my life and look at yours. Yep. So let's talk about it let's look at it in pure metrics. Who came from a worse scenario at the start? Who had a worse background? Me. Who's now more successful? Me. Who's happier? Me. Who smiles more? Me. Who sleeps easy at night? Me. Why the would I want to think like you? If thinking this way makes me a bad person, but I get fantastic results from my entire life and everybody close to me gets fantastic results from knowing me and everybody close to me absolutely adores me, why would I want to adopt your thinking and be a sad sack of shit sitting on the internet trying to cancel people like a dork? I don't want to be my enemies. There's not a single enemy I have that I'm remotely envious of in any regard. Every single one of them has a shit life and a shit existence. I already won. God's already punished them. God's already rewarded me. I know these things. I'm the luckiest man on the planet. You have to say these things and you have to truly believe them. Do you deserve to be happy?
I think a man should have absolutely no interest in whether he's actually happy or not. If I wake up and I'm unhappy, I will do the exact same things as if I am happy. I will go to the gym the same. I will work the same. How I feel has no impact on how I live my life. I don't think happiness as an index is a healthy view for a man to have on life success. Women are different. Women just want to be happy, right? Women just want to smile. They don't care how. They don't care if they deserve it or not. As long as they get to smile, women are happy. That's women. But I think for a man, if you're waking up and going, am I happy? Am I not? You're looking at life wrong. I think of a man, if you put happiness if you move it down the scale, right? And you start looking at, am I successful? Am I competent? Am I achieving things? Am I respected? If you start to look at these indicators of your life, you're going to end up being happier without actually analyzing if you're happy or not.
Genuinely, every single person watching this, go look in the mirror after this stream, go into the bathroom, look in the mirror. Do you deserve to be happy? Look yourself in the eye. The answer is probably not. You don't deserve it.
Bam.
When you're hungry, it's your body telling you need to eat some food. That's fine. You react to that. When you're depressed, your body's telling you need to change your life. And if you're feeling that for long periods of time and then not changing your life, well, you don't deserve to be happy. You don't deserve it. Everything in life that is valuable must be earned. Peace of mind must be earned. Happiness must be earned. I'm happy because I earned it. I get to be top G. Of course, I'm happy. I'm me. When I look at the lives of people who tell me they're depressed, I look at them and think, you know what? If I was you, I'd be depressed.
Facts.
If I was you, I'd be depressed. So of course you're depressed because your life is shit. But whose fault is that? Yeah. That you have to take some personal responsibility for it. And what they'll do is they'll try and outsource it. Well, I had a bad start, or this happened to me, that happened to me. World ain't fair. Shut up, buttercup. Shit happens to everybody. I could sit here and be an unsuccessful piece of shit, and I got 10 stories to tell you why I have excuses to do exactly that. And here I am, top G. So that's life. That's life. You have to get shit done. So yeah, if you live a depressive life, you're going to feel depressed. If you lived my life, you wouldn't feel depressed. So now you know what to do. Now you're either going to get up and do it, or you're going to sit there and stay depressed. And that's why these people are so desperate to defend the idea that depression can't be solved. When you tell the world that depression can't be solved, what you're doing is absolving yourself from all responsibility. I no longer have to stand up and work hard and try and be something because it doesn't matter how hard I work because I'll be depressed anyway. They know that's a lie. They're just trying to they're being ignorant on purpose to avoid doing the hard work. That's all it really is.
It's amazing how what goes around comes around. It's truly amazing. If you're good to people, if you're generous to people, if you're helpful to people, you'd be amazed how much influence you can build up. I say this to people all the time. I don't think if you're a hardworking person who is honest, who shakes hands, who tries to learn, who does what they're supposed to do, who has a good heart, that you're truly, really not going to be able to get what you want. I think the universe is absolutely and utterly giving. When I see somebody who says they want something and they don't have it, I don't even think they truly even want it. You can have anything you want in the world. When a guy goes, I want a six pack, then why ain't you got one? If you wanted it, you'd have it. You'd like it. There's a bunch of things I'd like that I don't have, but I don't want them. Everything I've ever wanted, I've got. I've never wanted something and not had it. We all know what we're talking about here. There's things we'd like. I'd like to be able to figure skate. Not enough to go learn to figure skate.
Ego is extremely important. It's either a superpower or it's your detriment. If you have an ego that you work hard to justify, then it is a superpower. If you're egotistical and say, I deserve the best possible version of humanity and I want people to respect me, so I'm going to live a life and do things that make it impossible to disrespect me. I'm going to get in the cage and I'm going to win all my fights and I'm going to work hard and drive the best car and I have a nice big apartment and I'm going to have important friends that allow me to do very important things and I'm going to live a life of freedom because I believe I deserve that. That is a healthy ego which can help any man on earth. If you have an ego without those justifications, an ego you don't want to justify or have never justified and believe you're just special just because you have YouTube followers or you have a big mouth.
That's toxic masculinity.
Absolutely.
That's truly toxic.
The world is hyper competitive. Every single thing in the world is competition. I don't think people realize I'm a hyper competitive person because I understand that every single thing I want, somebody else wants. The girl I want, other people want. The car I want, other people want. The house I want, other people want. The lifestyle, the jet, every single thing you want, somebody else wants. It's a massive competition. Yep. As a man, you have two choices. You either accept that as a massive competition and try and play the game, or you just try and pretend it's not a competition and live in perpetual failure.
You have to wake up and say, you know what? I am the man. I'm going to show everyone. And then how do you show everybody you're the man? You make the brave choice. What did I say earlier about bravery? How it radiates on you, how it can be seen in your eyes. That is how you have an ego which is helpful to your life. And that's how you have an ego which actually genuinely exudes confidence as opposed to exuding insecurity.
First things first, you need to be worthy of respect. And you're going to be worthy of respect through having things which are difficult to acquire. So first things first, the basic things, you need to be very focused on trying to make money because people listen to you when you have money. They just do. Secondly, you need to be in fantastic physical condition because when you're in fantastic physical condition, it cannot be bought. It must be earned. And people know that. When you're in, I don't know about you. If someone walked in to sell me something and they were obese, I would not trust them the same as if they were in fantastic physical shape. Because I'd say, I don't think you have dedication and heart. I don't think there's something about you that I just wouldn't trust you the same. So fantastic physical condition and money is the first thing. The second thing, whatever your ideas are, you need to learn how to communicate them. Speaking is a superpower in and of itself. You need to become a fantastic communicator. You need to be comfortable in all realms of communication. You need to be persuasive. You need to be comfortable arguing. You need to be good at debating. There's a lot of people out there in the world who have ideas that they can't even project into somebody else's mind. How are you going to rule the world with that? How are you going to get your ideas out there and make an influence if you can't make other people understand exactly what you think? That's the first thing. Second thing, once they understand exactly what you think, you need to make them agree with what you think. These are two different skills. Must be practiced and must be learned. If you're 20 years old and you want to change the world, you need to be having endless debates. Endless. Without resorting to name calling, not on Twitter like a dummy, in person. And you need to come across in a way that people agree with you. You can catch more flies with honey than hurting people sometimes. So you need to be good at everything. You need to have a Swiss Army knife of tools. I know when to be intimidating or aggressive. I know when to come across as obtuse. I know when to come across as exceptionally open-minded and easy to understand. I know when to come across as understanding. I know all these things. This all has to be practiced. And a lot of it is, communication. I would say, if you're going to say to a 20-year-old who's truly exceptional and driven, I'd say you need to become a master communicator. Because once you can do that, you can do anything. And that fixes all the other problems, right? We talk about making money. If you're a master communicator, you do fantastic in sales. You'll kill sales. You'll absolutely destroy sales if you're a master communicator.
So a lot of people are labeling themselves, and I absolutely refuse to take my own power away. There are so many things in the world trying to kill us. Like you got enemies, you got people on the streets with blades, you got bacterias, lions. Oh, I've got enough enemies, bruv. Sharks want me dead. I've got enough enemies. Why am I going to take my own power away?
Another thing that's really important, I say this all the time. Nearly every word that comes out of my mouth is self-hypnosis. Every word that comes out of my mouth is self-hypnosis. And it's the same for everybody watching this. Every single word you speak is self-hypnosis. Every single thing you say out of your own mouth is almost more important than the things you hear from other people.
Amen.
You can't be sitting there saying, I'm depressed. I got a generational curse. I'm unlucky, bro. You can't be saying these things because you're reaffirming them within your mind. I don't do that. I said at the beginning of this stream, I do not believe in things that take away power from me. I only believe in things that make me more powerful as an individual. Yep. Now, I cannot deny that feeling depressed is real because every single human on the planet sometimes feels depressed. Feeling depressed is real, but being a depressive or having depression is something else. I accept that if I do feel depressed or I do feel sad or I do feel negative, which is actually very rare for me, but if it does ever happen, I understand I'm human and it's an emotion I'm going through and it will pass. People who have depression believe that they have a disease that can't be fixed and can't be cured. You are handing your power away. You're giving your power to an outside source and you're saying that I have no control over this. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. You need to at least believe you have some degree of control. When I say depression isn't real, I'm not saying you don't feel depressed. I'm saying that you can fix it. It's not a disease that you caught from the sky. You can fix it by taking control of your own mind.
And this is what people really don't yet understand. There's only one thing on the planet you actually have control over. You can't control the weather. You can't control your health. You can get brain aneurysm or a heart attack. You can't control other people. The only thing you can actually really truly control is what you think. That's the only thing you can change in real time. You can be thinking of red and change it to blue. So why are you not controlling your own mind? It's your asset. It's your ally. It's your friend. Why would you make an enemy out of the only thing you have control over? I refuse to do that. It doesn't make sense to me. The worst thing on earth that could happen to a man could happen to me. And I guarantee you, I would still label myself happy. I'm happy because that's who I am. That's how I view myself. That's what I've decided.
If you truly want to win, you can't only want to win when you're happy and you can't only want to win when you're motivated because you're competing against people like me who want to win all of the time. And unfortunately, it's player versus player. Every single girl that you want, every single dollar that you want, I also want. You're competing against men like me who will perform even when it is raining, not only when the sun is shining. And if you're going to be the kind of person who can only do it in one of those scenarios, you are going to lose. You must be prepared to perform all of the time.
What we were saying earlier about player versus player is absolutely not really true. If it's player versus player and you're competing against everybody else, because you're competing against everybody else all the time, and you want to also on top of that be low energy and lethargic and lazy, well then you just don't stand a chance. You're get wrecked. There are people out here who are prepared to work their ass off.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be that guy, then you're going to lose.
I have a lot of people who message me and say, I struggle with motivation. And my answer is simple. Then stay a loser. If you can't find the motivation to not be a loser, then I strongly recommend you just stay a loser, stay in your lane, and stay out of my way. I have no time for people who cannot find the motivation to fix themselves and fix their own lives. I've been the kind of person who will perform 7 days a week. It doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter what's happened. It doesn't matter if I'm happy or sad. Things must be done. And this is the mindset you need to adopt if you want to be a winner.
Yeah, happiness is a very interesting subject for men. Happiness is the number one thing that must be earned. And I'll tell you that my happiness is based on very real world achievements. I couldn't be happy if I was broke. I couldn't be happy if I was obese. I couldn't be happy if I was lonely. I couldn't be happy if I wasn't respected. I couldn't be happy if I couldn't whoop a dude's ass. I couldn't be happy in those scenarios. So I made sure none of them scenarios came true. I have earned my happiness via hard work. It's the top of a mountain, which I have climbed. I deserve it. I deserve to go to sleep with a smile on my face and wake up between two beers. That's what I deserve. And every single guy who hasn't got it probably doesn't deserve it.
Another thing that's really important, I want to talk about it, is that men need to have respect for women's emotional needs. Because we talk about provide and protect for them, but women are emotional creatures and sometimes they're going to get upset.
Yeah, providing is more than just financial.
Sometimes they're going to cry. Sometimes they're going to be illogical. Sometimes they're going to be sad. Sometimes they're going to call you and they're going to give you a headache. And you need to be man enough to deal with that and make her feel better. And you need to be stoic enough to not get annoyed by it and just be the rock she wants. The difference between men and women is if I call Tristan with a problem, we start talking about the solution. If a woman calls you with a problem, they don't often want to talk about the solution. They want to complain about the problem first.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. So let them complain. Don't get upset about it. Don't scream about it. Don't cry about it. You need to be stoic enough, even though you're busy dealing with your entire empire and you have so much going on. And you don't understand why she's calling you over some tiny little issue. You need to be a man enough to make her feel emotionally secure. Women's emotionality cannot be ignored. Because I'll tell you something was really interesting about men. We're super hypocritical. We complain when a woman acts crazy, right? But as soon as she doesn't care anymore, we're messaging her, why don't you care? Why don't you love me? Then we want her to be crazy again.
Talking shit to your friends like, oh, she's got borderline personality disorder. No, you're just a loser.
Completely. So women are going to be crazy when they love you. And as soon as they don't love you, they're going to stop being crazy completely. And then you're going to wonder why she doesn't give a shit at all. So you're going to have to be able to provide a degree of emotional security and emotional safety net. And you do that being stoic enough to understand her moods and deal with her emotional needs without fighting with her all of the time. You don't have to take it so personal.
As a man, you have to be accountable for absolutely everything. Every single thing that happens is your fault. I didn't go to jail because of Romania. When I was in jail, it was my fault. Even though I don't believe it was just, even though I do not believe it was fair, even though I know I am innocent, it is my fault because I didn't have to become so influential. I did it. But it's also my fault when I'm on the jet and living my perfect life. I did that. I did the good. I did the bad. You made her leave you. You did. Whether you like it or not, You are the reason she became so cold. You are the reason she doesn't listen anymore. You are the reason she's so arrogant all of a sudden.
100%.
You are. You may not have identified why yet,
Yep.
but if you identify why, then you get into your next relationship healed and understanding what you did wrong and learn from it. That's what you have to do. But most of these
Yeah, I
men don't
love
want
that.
the self-accountability.
I love that.
And they want to blame the women.
Yep.
You have to blame yourself.
You must do what's right because it is your duty and for that alone. Not because you benefit from it, not because you gain from it, because it is your duty. Tristan and I do many things to our detriment, like talk on the internet. We don't need money. We don't need to help you. We don't need to save your life to our detriment, but we believe it's our duty to educate people because we understand we have a massive platform and a lot of young boys are looking up to us and there's a lot we can teach.
And also your word is your duty. I have said I'm not going to quit. I have said I'm going to keep talking. If I say something, I do it. So your word immediately becomes your duty. Never break your word and never go back on what you said.
If you want to be charismatic, like I said earlier, you need to have honor, doing what's right because it's your duty. You need to honor your word. You need to be reliable, dependable, and loyal, and never stab anybody in the back. You also need to work on being likable. And that doesn't mean being a it means doing the things we were saying earlier about exuding honor and bravery, etc. But being likable is a superpower. You need to work on yourself in all realms. Yes, your physical capability. Yes, your financial resource. Yes, your network. Yes, you need to have stories. You need to be charismatic, but you need to be likable as a person. There has to be losers for there to be winners. And I have no problem with there being losers on earth because I'm going to sit here and perpetually win. And if you are too lazy to go to the gym and become a man of genuine fortitude, when people look at my body, they know I'm a disciplined, motivated person. It's impossible to have a body like mine without being those things. If you want people to look at you and think you're lazy and stupid, because that's what they think of fat people, unfortunately, then you're going to have to sit there and just accept it and think, I don't care enough about people thinking I'm lazy to get up and do anything about it. Then stay fat. Women will think you're lazy. I'll think you're lazy. Everyone you interact with for the rest of your life will think you're lazy. And that's fine.
And when I got attacked by the Matrix, when they attacked me and they accused me of all these different things, et cetera, which is numerous and all incorrect, I was explaining and they were saying to me, oh yeah, but the expectations you're giving of men of life is unfair and all this crap. And I was saying, no, I'm just saying that the only life worth living as a man is a man of dedication and purpose and becoming important. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're Joe Schmo as a man, it sucks. So stop being Joe Schmo. I'm telling the younger generation that if they don't get up and work hard and make sure that they're important, that the world's not going to give a shit about them. As a man, you're born with no inherent value. You have to become important. You have to go through some pain and go through some suffering to make people care about you. Otherwise, you're not going to matter. And when I say this about the difference between men and women, they think I'm attacking females. Absolutely not. I'm not attacking women. I'm just saying that a woman can wake up, put makeup on, go to the club, go to the party, and still be a jewel. She still exists. People still want her. As a dude, if you walk into the party and you put no effort into your life, nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit about you. And every man out here knows. And one of the great things about the masculine journey and masculinity is that we've all lived a semi-similar story. It's kind of cool. Like, we've all been the teenager gets heartbroken. We've all been unimportant. We've all like worked hard and then started to get some clout. And then we've all kind of lived the same kind of journey. So I say to everybody out there, yeah, if you don't follow that path and follow that journey and in one way or another get to the top, whether it's fighting, whether it's comedy, whether it's musician, whatever it is, if you're just going to stay somewhere near the bottom and then at the age of 44, email me saying I'm depressed. Well, of course you're depressed. 'Cause you're a loser.
Yeah.
But that was your choice because you have to build yourself as a man. And if you decide not to build yourself, then your life's going to suck.
I can't imagine life as a man who wasn't competent, but I know for sure it must be miserable. It must be miserable. You're a feather in the wind. You're just being blown by the tides of life and you're just getting knocked from place to place. And you've handed all control of your life over to somebody else. And there's those people who you've handed control over to, whether it's the government, whether it's your job, whether whoever it is, they care about you less than you should care about yourself. And it's just a bad decision to make.
Why would I see somebody as my equal? Why would I sit there and see you as my equal when I've suffered my entire life to be valuable and you've refused to suffer and just sit around on your ass all the time?
Good.
When I've gone through endless pain
Yeah.
to be the man I am, and then you just sit there and talk like we're equals. We're not equals. I've been through shit. You decided not to go through shit. That's fine. That was your life decision. That's your prerogative.
Yeah.
But you have to live with those decisions. You can't complain now that I get to be top G and you don't. That was your choice.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, that's the thing about being a man. And that's what I was saying to the kids. It's like, look, you need to get up and it's going to be very, very difficult. The world's getting harder and harder, especially for men. It's all clout. It's all status. There's no way you're going to matter unless you get up and you work extremely hard. And for some reason they thought I was toxic and I had to be the lead.
That's what they wanted me to do. They wanted me to quit and be demotivated. And I'll make it clear now, I've been massively successful on my new platform, Rumble. But even if I had one subscriber, I would be posting just like before, podcasts just like before. I'm indefatigable. Do not give up. Do not get tired. I do not quit. That's what they want. That's what the enemy wants from me. They want to try and win a war of attrition. They want to wear me down and hope I quit and give up and go, oh, I'm not getting any traction now. I don't have YouTube. This is going to be hard, etc. I am not that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy who keeps going. And if you're truly indefatigable in life and perspicacious, that's my favorite saying, the one I say all the time, unmatched perspicacity coupled with sheer indefatigability makes me a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. It's absolutely and utterly true. If you pay attention to the things that are happening around you and you do not quit, you will be a dangerous opponent in any realm of human endeavor. It doesn't matter what you try and do. Cancel me again. Do it again. It ain't going to change anything. I'm a man who lives true to God and says what he means and means what he says. And I know the things I say are good for society and good for the world. I didn't put a magic spell on anybody. The reason people listen to me is because they like what I say and they know that I'm telling the truth. That's the reason I am here. And I'm going to continue to do that. And there's nothing anybody can do about it.
I've said it before that bullying is good and it's needed, especially for men. Maybe not as much for women, but I think it's extremely important for a man's development. And because my dad used to, like, being an adult now, I'm 32 years old. My dad used to bully me now that I think about it, but it made me stronger so that when I got bullied by other people, I was able to deal with it. Versus like, because it's a controlled environment. They're not going to give you something you can't handle, your own parents.
Completely. It's small doses of poison. So that it's the olden emperors of Rome used to eat small doses of poison with every single meal. So then when they got poisoned for real, they didn't die. And that's it. If you're raised too soft, then you're not ready for the world. Like, I had to face all my fears instantly all the time. That's who my father was. So now if I have a fear to face now as a man, my entire life, I've just faced them instantly. That's just who I am. That's what I do. Right. And we're all human. We all get scared. If 5 people pull knives on me and I know I can't run away and I have to fight, I'm be like, all right, shit. Well, I can't run. So the other option's fight. Am I going to sit and beg? Well, they're obviously here to hurt me. So now it's on. Like, that's just how I was raised. I would never rob my son of the opportunity of growing up to being that man. There's something that's so brilliant. So it's satisfying to your core. It's like an evolutionary adaptation. When you feel genuine competence as a man, there's something that oozes from you. Look at James Bond. The reason James Bond is James Bond is because he's good at everything. He can drive, he can fight, he can shoot. He's got all this money. He's smart. He's suave. He's a millionaire, whatever. That there's something about having competence as a man that genuinely satisfies your soul. How can I go to sleep and be sad at night when I know that I'm one of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet? When I know there's not a single scenario in which somebody paired against me will be happy about the pairing. It doesn't matter what it is. If you were to go out there, let's choose something random. What do white people? Wakeboarding. I've never wakeboarded in my life, right? But if you were to go out there and choose someone else who's never wakeboarded before, and they said, you're going to have a wakeboarding competition, you're going to wakeboard against somebody who's never wakeboarded either, but if you lose, there's going to be serious consequences. But your competitor is Tate. Part of them's going to go, oh, why Tate? I've never even wakeboarded. They have no reason to fear me besides the fact that it's my last name and they know that I am indefatigable and perspicacious and that I am a feared opponent in any realm of human endeavor. I have absolutely not a competence that runs through my veins. I do not fail, and the world knows that. How can I be unhappy in this scenario? How can I be unhappy as this person, as this avatar to attack the simulation? My father built me to be this man. I would be a terrible father to rob my son of that opportunity, which means if his ass has to go fight orcs, imaginary orcs in a darkened room at the age of 2.5, then guess motherfucking what? That's what you're going to do, because I'd be a shit parent to raise him any other way. Absolutely. And it's a natural state of being for a person who's confident with themselves and knows that they're speaking the truth. And also it pleases God and it pleases the universe and it pleases the world. And that's what I'm here to do. I do not see the advantage in me taking all the amazing lessons I had and the fantastic lifestyle I've built and keeping it all completely and utterly for myself and disappearing. That's what a insecure person would do. That's what a sad person would do. I'll give you an example. If I meet a rich guy who's like a fat, short dork, he never wants to tell people how to get rich. You ever talk to like a fat, short dork guy who has a bunch of money and you ask him how to make money? Oh, yeah, well, he'll give you some bullshit answer because he knows the only differentiator he has is money. That's all he has. If other people make money, then he ain't got shit anymore. Whereas me, I'll tell the whole world how to get rich. I don't give a you can get as rich as you want. I'm still top G.
Right.
I don't care how much money you have. I'll smack you up. It doesn't make a difference to me, right? So when you genuinely are happy within yourself, you're prepared to help other people. I want everybody watching this stream to be as confident and fantastic with women as possible. Do you think I give a shit if the 16,000 people watching this all become Casanovas? You think I'm going to be walking around thinking I'm getting no pussy? You think I'm scared? I love helping the world because I have genuine happiness within myself. I want every single person watching this stream to be as successful as possible. I talk about this all the time. One of the things that differentiates the people who listen to me and like my content and fans of mine, as opposed to my enemies or my opponents, is that the people who listen to me genuinely have better lives. Yeah. I want somebody to walk through life and them to go, look, his life's in order. Look, he's in fantastic shape. He's rich. He's confident. His head's held high. He must be a Tate fan. That's what I want. I want as many of my fans to be as successful as possible. That's why I have the things I have, the programs I have, and sell the things I do, because they're all completely and utterly dedicated towards the success of the people who understand my message. I'm not trying to detriment on anybody who believes in me. I want Tate fans to be the most capable, well put together, the most financially literate fans on the planet. Let all my enemies be the depressed ones. Oh, okay, the depressive crowd and the multimillionaires. Well, which team are you joining? Like, I'm out here to help as many people as possible, and I think it's a fantastic badge of honor for me to sit here and say that my fans are some of the most financially literate, well-off, educated, charismatic men on the planet. That's what I want for a Tate fan. I don't want anything else. I want the best for every single one of them.
And by default, you're building a network of guys that can fight the Matrix and stand on their own.
Absolutely. By default, I now have large groups of men who are extremely competent, who I'm close to. And that's what I want, right? The crazy thing about life and the crazy thing about war, it's always been the same. Getting money and getting status is absolutely and utterly important, because without those things, you're going to end up at the bottom of the ladder. Even if you're on the right team, you're going to end up at the bottom of the ladder, right? So if, let's say, a country, whatever it is, America, were to conscript right now and go to World War III, if you have no money and no real skills, you're the dude who's in the trench getting blown up. You're the cannon fodder. You're the guy walking over landmines to clear them out. But if you're rich or intelligent or have unique skills, then you might be the engineering corps, or you might be an officer, or you might be something else, right? So even in the worst possible cases, even the idea of World War III and mass conscription, having money and status and skills are still going to save you from ending up being the guy in the foxhole just getting blown to smithereens for no reason. You always have to be that guy. So you always have to be upgrading and improving yourself. I'm telling you now, there is not a military alive that would conscript me and allow me to go die as a GI nobody. They'd say the way he can motivate people, this motherfucking officer, we can't let him die. We can't let Top G die. That's bad for the morale of the army. But they'd protect me. They'd say, put Top G in the somewhere safe. I'm like, nah, I'll go out the front line. I'm like, no, sir, you're too important for the front line. And that's because of the man I built myself to be. And it's been that way since the dawn of human time. You can protect yourself against the worst possible scenarios in life that can possibly happen to you by just becoming a man of genuine competence and skill. And that's why I don't understand how these men are just waking up each day and not trying to do exactly that. It's crazy.
Ani, speaking of military, great question here. And I think a lot of guys can learn. Guys, I'm prioritizing questions that guys can actually learn from and become better from. And this one's a great one. He goes, $100. Andrew, I'm in the army and my best friend drowned 2 weeks ago. Broke my heart. I had to speak to his mother. We were both 20 years old. Every day I was progressing our relationship similar to your brothers in sense of brotherhood. Life felt vaporous. How do I deal with grief of my closest friend passing away?
Well, what does your closest friend want for you now that he's gone? If he was alive for an hour and you could talk to him, what do you think he'd be telling you to do? Would he be telling you to sit around and be sad? Would he be telling you to give up? Or would he be telling you to obviously speak to his mother, talk to her, stay in touch with the family, and be as fantastic as you possibly can? He'd be telling you to keep his memory alive. And what's amazing about being a fantastic person is that people are interested in your origin story, and that allows the people who you care about to live forever. The reason my father is discussed so often on the internet is because I'm so fantastic and people want to know about my upbringing. We just talked about it.
Yep.
I keep my father alive through my absolute competence and individualism and exceptionalism. My father lives forever through me. If I was Joe Schmo, who would be asking me about my father?
Yep.
Nobody. So if you want to keep your best friend alive and he had an impact on your life, then you need to go out there and become the most fantastic person ever. So when people give a shit, because nobody's going to give a shit if you aren't fantastic. When people give a shit about your upbringing and the life you've lived, you can talk about your best friend and the experience you had and how his death affected you. If you go out there and become fantastic, then he gets to live forever. If you get to if you stay a nobody, then he doesn't. So if you truly give a then you know what to do. And it's actually amazing. But it's true. And it's actually amazing. The answer to 99% of questions or conundrums or scenarios that people come up and ask me, 99% of the time, the answer is work hard. My girl left me. What do I do? Hit the gym. My friend died. What do I do? Become exceptional. I'm sad. What do I do? Train. Like, the answer is nearly universal.
Yep.
It's always working harder is never going to not help. No matter what scenario you're in, working harder is never going to not help you. And it's amazing that I give different versions of the same answer for 99% of the questions I'm asked. Work harder. If you have a problem, whether you're broke, whether you're out of shape, whether your friend dies, whether your girl leaves you, whether you're depressed, whatever it is, working harder is almost always the answer. So you know what you need to do. You need to do it. And what's amazing, again, it's kind of like the antidote. If you take the antidote before the poison, then you never get sick in the first place. If you're always working as hard as possible, if you're always working your ass off and trying to be the best version of yourself every single day, then you never get sick in the first place. You're already working. You're already taking the antidote. So things can't attach to you. They can't get hold of you. If my best friend or the worst thing that could possibly happen is my brother, or anything happened to them, I know they'd live forever because I'm already amazing. I get to keep them alive forever because I'm already amazing. I've already done the work. I've already taken the antidote to the poison. So if you're working as hard as possible all of the time, then you already have all your answers before the problems even appear. I was working my ass off before the Matrix canceled me. And then the Matrix canceled me and I continued to work my ass off. And here I am more famous than I was before the cancellation. Why? Because I already had momentum. I already had speed. I'd already taken the antidote to cancellation before they hit me with the poison. Working hard is the antidote to everything. So why don't you just do it in advance? Why don't your life just become work like mine? Why don't you just dedicate yourself to a cause and get up and do what you're supposed to do every single day? If you do that, there's very little weapons that the Matrix can forge to attack you with. It's genuinely true.
It's almost second nature to me. It's not a conscious thing. If I'm awake, I don't see why I wouldn't be doing something constructive. I'm a conscious now. I've woken up. I'm either in the gym or I'm working. What else am I going to do besides turn my brain off in front of Netflix? It's just all clown world to me. If I'm awake, it's work. Or training. And that's how I've always lived. And that's just how I'm going to live as long as I can. If I get to a point where I feel need to slow down, then. Well, it's interesting about watching content because watching content can be a double-edged sword. You can learn a bunch of things, and everyone at home here, I like to feel like they're getting value and they're learning things. But there's also the other edge of people who feel like if they just watch a bunch and do nothing, that they're taking action. They feel better about themselves, but they're not actually taking action. You know, so you have to balance the two carefully. Ultimately, it's going to be action that shapes your world. Ultimately, you're going to have to do something. So if you're watching something, you should be very conscious of what it is. I mean, I've created my reality. Absolutely. I've cut out all bull. I don't have TikTok installed on my phone band. So I don't have anything installed on my phone, random entertainment. I don't watch any podcasts of anyone else, like nothing. I don't need to. But I get a daily report at the end of each day and spend 4 minutes analyzing. I get what I needed in 4 minutes to read the piece of paper, boom, done. Very, very efficient with it. But yeah, you have to be careful if you just watch too much content. Like you guys have a website, right? And you teach things. I have a website. I teach things, whatever. If you watch this podcast and you've genuinely learned things from it, then you should be on one of the two websites by the time the conversation ends. If you're going to watch the podcast and go, yeah, they're all pretty smart. Anyway, then you've wasted your time. It's action that shapes the world. So if you're going to watch something, it needs to either tell you what to do or inspire you to take action. If you're not going to take action, you're going to fail. That's the reality. My problem with reading is not that there's not good information there. It feels slow.
I'm with him.
It feels slow. I just feel like I don't have
read a bit faster.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't have the hours. I'm now at the point where I will hand the book to my PA and say, give me a 2-minute surmise. You read it. For me, that's just where I am. But also, life teaches you a lot. And I think a lot of people are not very self-reflective of their own lives. I don't think you can read a book and that's great. But I think if you're living an interesting life, if you were to take half an hour a day to actually sit and go, okay, what good has happened to me today and what bad has happened to me today? Why have those things happened and how can I prevent them from happening again? Most people don't, that kind of crap doesn't even cross their minds. Like every day I will sit at the end of the day and go, what bad has happened to me today? How did that happen? Did I get caught slipping was I on the street and some guys come up to me and it could have been a dangerous situation? Like, how could I genuinely have improved my reality? And you can self-reflect and teach yourself everything. You have to have ownership of everything good that's ever happened to you and everything bad that's ever happened to you. I have complete ownership for the fact I was canceled. I don't sit there and go, oh, they're lying about me. Yes, they're lying, but I still own it completely. They're lying about me and they're talking, but I own it and I took responsibility for it and I sat there and I took absolute accountability and I thought, okay, how can I turn this in my favor? And I beat them. If I'm walking down the street and it starts to rain, I take responsibility for that. I didn't have to be in rainy London. I could have been somewhere else. I could have brought an umbrella. But I took a car. I am responsible for getting wet in the rain. And there's people out here who just don't take any responsibility for their own actions, let alone the weather. If you take complete self-accountability and you self-reflect, you can learn a whole bunch about. No, but that's what losers do. It's raining. I'm unlucky. No, but that's what they'll say. I got wet because it rained, not my fault. Whereas I'll say I got wet because I did not prepare for the rain. And I will punish myself for that. And I'll make sure it doesn't happen to me again. I will sit and actually consciously think about it. There's been times I've lost my car keys or something ridiculous and wasted 20 minutes of my life. And I'm furious. And I will make sure that never happens again. So I don't make mistakes ever. That's it. If you don't sit and pay conscious attention to it and give it conscious effort, you're not going to learn. There's still a sense of satisfaction knowing you were forward thinking enough to try your absolute best. Like I have people who are after me, right? If they catch me and I feel I had a 7-man security team and an armored car and I did my best. Like
took the precautions.
Yeah, but if I'm just walking around like a dummy and then they get me, then it's a different scenario, right? So it is what it is. You have to self-reflect. And I think that, reading's great, but if you take some time to look, I get this all the time. People say, oh, my girl left me. Why? I don't know. She just left. What do you mean you don't? Why did she leave you? Oh, because she wanted If you think long enough, you'll realize it's because of you. You were not important enough to make her not want to leave. You can sit and say what she did and what she wanted, blah, blah. It's because you couldn't keep her because I could have kept her. So you couldn't. So it's your fault and you're not self-reflecting. And then you're going to go into your next relationship. And because you didn't self-reflect and you haven't grown, you haven't done anything, guess what's going to happen? She's going to leave you again. Now we're in a globalized world, and a lot of the products and services and things you can offer can be offered to absolutely everybody. So inside of don't want to do a plug, but I will. But inside of our university, we teach a bunch of things. We have 18 modern wealth creation methods, but they're all based on online. I think online, it's not groundbreaking to say the internet's here to stay and it's the future. And I think that whatever business you're in, you need an online presence to it. And then you have to find a way to attract attention. And the best way to do that is to come across as knowledgeable and interesting. I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah, if you're a CEO, technically you're free, but if you're too free, your business fails. So everyone's to a degree its own. But you've just said something that intrigued me. Let's try and think of a business that's not an online business. What's not an online business?
Laying bricks.
Laying bricks, building.
Cutting hair.
Oh, cutting hair. Yeah, so cutting hair is not an online business. Yes, so let's say you're a hairdresser, right? You're a hairdresser and you cut hair. Then you have to define what an online business is, because if you start attracting attention online, I guess you could say it's an online business. But let's try and think about something that's purely online. You're going to have to find a problem to solve. So if you're a hairdresser, you can either solve the problem of teaching people how to cut their own hair, which most people are probably not going to be that interested in, or something that goes wrong with hair. So you can say, I'm a hairdresser. I've been a hairdresser for a long time. I've identified men that have male balding patterns that go wrong, or women whose hair is damaged by dye and that can go wrong, etc. I've been a hairdresser for ages. Here's my Instagram page of all the hairs I've cut, and here's the way I can help you. You can start a YouTube channel that shows you can come up with some health care, some hair thing. You could literally get some cream from X place and add in some avocado oil, some garbage, say it helps people and say it helps their hair. You've been around for a long time and you can establish credibility. You establish credibility based on the fact that you cut hair, you've been around for ages, and you know exactly what you're talking about. You have this cream, you have this product now that has helped X amount of customers. You can give it to your customers and they can start to give you reviews and say, yeah, it works fantastically. You can sell it by your Instagram page for $7 a bottle and bam. Anything can be done. Credibility, and you gain attention, you'll make money. So I'll give you another example. I had a friend who was a personal trainer. He used to go to the gym every day and used to train people. He didn't make that much money. People would miss appointments. It was like £50 an hour. He'd get there, get back. Blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, brother, you used to, he didn't at the time, look fantastic. How about you spend the next 6 months, get in absolute killer shape, then put up a bunch of pictures on Instagram of you in killer shape, and then put together your workout plans and tell people they'll look like you even though they never will, and sell that for $7 or £10 or £15 and sell it by your Instagram. And he went from making $2,500 a month or $2,000 a month as a personal trainer to $15,000 a month without ever going in the gym. He only went to the gym for himself because he was selling information. So a way which is becoming more difficult. Like in the fitness industry, it can be done purely on how you look and get some credibility and attention. But especially in the business world now, you have to be very knowledgeable. You have to be because that's the way things go when they get competitive, which is fine. But this all goes back and ties into what we were saying earlier on. If you're not trying your best and working hard and paying attention, then you're going to get wrecked. Another thing I will say to people at home, and I've said this before, every single time I ever spend money, I pay attention to why I spent money. And that gives you a lot of information and a lot of knowledge when it comes to sales and marketing. If I go and I buy some clothes, I am conscious about why did I choose this store instead of that store or that store? Well, is it the branding? Do I know them? Am I familiar with them? Is it because there was no line? Is it because they had a brighter sign? What was it? Oh, there's a line there. There's no line here. So in my physical businesses, which I have in Romania, I have this thing with the staff. I said, there can never be a line faster. Dude, I don't want, but it's just 3 people. No, there are people walking past who won't walk in because there's a line, because that's what I do. No line, but you don't want to look empty. No. So no line until the last customer. So there's one person. Yes. Like you have to manage these things. Most people don't micromanage this stuff. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. No. You have to pay attention to seeing people who are doing things and if they work and how they work. And you're completely and utterly correct. And you should do that all the time. Every time you spend money, you should work out how they convinced you to spend money. Like I have a few physical companies. I have a few physical businesses, and it can be a simple matter of, depending on in the business districts where there's men in suits, I have a pretty girl who's a waitress and she works there. The difference that will make to a bottom line is the dude going and flirting with this chick every lunchtime. You'd be amazed. But people don't think about these things. But even if you don't have a business, if you pay enough attention to these kind of things, you'll get business ideas. So I'm now at a point where, and my attitude to money, I want to make something clear, is relatively unhealthy. I have no respect for money. There are people who are much smarter with money than me. I don't have any respect for money at all. I don't believe in saving money. And I think a lot of that is down to I'm not advocating people to be like this. It's my life philosophy and the fact that I don't live in any realm of fear at all. I can't imagine myself not being able to make more. I can't ever be poor. And if I wanted something now that took every penny of my net worth, then I would buy it because I want it. I don't care. I don't think, oh, God, I have a safety net. I don't give about money that way. I have a safety net by accident because I haven't spent all my money, but I have never sat and thought I want something and that's too much. I'll give you an example. I have an 812 Superfast, a Ferrari. I love it very much. They've released.
Very nice.
Yep. They've released the 812 Superfast Competition. They've released the competition version. Instead of 400 grand, it's 1.6 million, which is a big difference for a bit of a body kit. And I want one in Europe and I want one in Dubai. So I bought two. So I bought $3.2 million of Ferraris. Should I have done that? Well, yeah, I can. But my point is I'm happy to just spend money. But that's down to my faith in myself. So when you're asking how much of my income is disposable, in my mind, all of it. I have a lot of money left because I can't possibly spend it, but I'm happy to spend all my money. What really matters are the systems you build, the robust systems. If you have a robust system that's guaranteed to pay you $50,000 a day, and it always will, and you have faith in it, and you're working hard and you're on top of it, and it's going to pay you at 9 a.m. every morning 50 grand. You could spend 50 grand a day if you wanted to. You know, you may not want to, but you could. So for me, all of my money is disposable.
I think that as a man, your happiness comes from feeling respected over feeling loved. And the reason perhaps you're happy now is because you have more respect for yourself because of the decisions you're making. And you have self-respect.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of men, even if they have self-respect, if nobody else respects them, they're struggling.
I have no interest in being happy. I wake up and say, how can I be proud of myself? What can I achieve that makes me proud of myself? How can I do things that make other people respect me and are proud of me? How do I have a day which I complete when I come home? The woman who's in my house says, wow, there's no man like you. How do I live a life so my children look at me and go, Dad's a superhero? How do I make my mother call me and say, I couldn't possibly be more proud of you? I have duties to complete. I have to live the exact same life regardless of how I feel. So for me, happiness is not a good indicator on how life should be lived. But happiness to me is a super interesting concept because when people come to me and say, I'm not happy, I say, why should you be happy? They're like, what do you mean? It's like, who told you you should be happy all the time without working for it? Happiness is at the top of a mountain somewhere. You ain't been anywhere. You haven't even climbed it. Nobody cares about men being happy. We talk about women being happy. We want children to be happy. If you look at a full-grown man on Christmas morning, he's smiling because his wife is smiling. He's smiling because his children are smiling. Nobody even buys him anything. What do they buy the dad? Socks? Nobody cares about men being happy. So why do you as a man care about you being happy? That's how you're going to fall into these traps. I'm a very content person. I live a fantastic life. I'm not miserable or depressed. I'm not sad ever, but I don't wake up and go, I want to be happy today. No, sir. I wake up and say, okay, things must be done. And those things will be completed regardless of how I feel. Regardless of how I feel. You can lock me in a dungeon for an unknown amount of time in Romania, and I will still complete as many push-ups as I can possibly do in the dark by myself. What else am I going to do? Sit there and be sad? Happy or sad? The push-ups must be done. It's called duty. It's called honor. It's called pride. So I'm asking you why you don't have them. You could be a genuine force for good in the world. And you know what's funny? The funniest thing, the most ironic thing about all of this is that if you don't prioritize happiness and you prioritize feeling proud of yourself, you end up happy by extension. I'm happy because I'm proud of myself because I have a fantastic life and mansions and supercars and money, most famous man in the world, thousands of love letters a week from beautiful women. Of course I'm happy, but I didn't ever choose to try and be happy. If I would have chosen to try and be happy, I would have never ended up happy. I don't want a woman to ever go through anything bad in her life. I think a man should go through it for her, protect her. So I think that's how she's her best self as a woman. But I think to be your best self as a man is the absolute opposite. And when someone emails me and says, this has happened to me, I'm like, good. No, what do you mean good? It's terrible. How else are you going to become important? How else are you going to find endless fire to get up and struggle in the face of the competition that's out here in the world? How else are you're going to do all that with a nice, cushy life? If any man's honest with himself, think about the biggest transformative stages in your life. Think about the times you got the most work done. It was a bad part of your life. You were heartbroken or, you lost a house or broke or whatever. That's when you did shit. When everything was fine, the mortgage is paid, dinner's on time, it's kind of doop-de-doop-de-doo, little by little, do a little bit of work, do a little bit of relax. But the big events come from trauma. This is it. So it's a cheat code. It's a cheat code to climb the mountain. So when I get a message from whoever and he goes, my wife left me, I'm devastated. I say, I understand. I completely understand how hard it can be to lose a woman that you've given your entire life to. And you've done so many nice things. And then because of one thing you did, her innate and absolutely insane level of ungratefulness has turned her bitter
and she now talks to you like she hates you over one thing you've done after thousands of efforts showing how dedicated you are to her. And even now that you're prepared to die for her, she doesn't give a shit about you. I understand that pain. But my answer is, good. It's still good. Now take all of that pain, and instead of emailing me, do this. And then you're going to become the kind of person that women don't leave. Then you win. I think everybody on the planet has something to prove. If you walk through life and feel like you have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. If you wake up each day and go, I don't owe anybody anything, I don't have to prove anything to anybody, then you are a loser, because you are absolutely not incorrect. You must prove yourself to other people. You must prove yourself to your bloodline, as we just discussed. You must prove yourself to God. God hates the lazy. He can't stand them. If he gives you all these genetic dispositions and these natural God-given gifts, if you have 2 arms and 2 legs and you can think, and you're not trying your absolute best, that's the reason you're not lucky. He doesn't like you. He likes the people which show him the beauty of his own creation. He likes to give somebody building blocks and them to build something amazing. It's the best thing about being a man. You get to build who you are. Right? You can decide if you want to be a funny comedian or a musician or a kickboxing world champion, or fight the Matrix. You can decide whatever you want to be. God loves to see that. Those people, for some reason, seem to be enormously lucky, right? Person who goes, I don't have to prove anything to God. I don't owe all of my ancestors any effort. You know, for 5,000 years, people were dodging saber-toothed tigers and catching the plague and running from Genghis Khan. I don't owe them anything. I don't owe them a thing, because I want to play video games. These people are losers. I wake up every day with something to prove. I have hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm in fantastic shape, 4 times world champion. Fighting the Matrix out here by myself, more. I will have to be braver. I must try harder. All I do is prove myself. So when I hear people go, I have nothing to prove, then you're a loser. Peasants have never felt like they needed to prove anything. But kings felt like they needed to go and conquer land. Isn't that it's coincidental that the king, who already had it all, felt like he needed to go to some far-flung land and conquer it and take it and prove he's the king. But the peasants, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. You're a loser then. You're a dummy. I absolutely and utterly, completely have everything to prove to everybody all of the time. That's who I am. I will prove anything to anybody. If I sit and say X, I will prove it. Happiness is the number one thing that must be earned. And I'll tell you that my happiness is based on very real world achievements. I couldn't be happy if I was broke. I couldn't be happy if I was obese. I couldn't be happy if I was lonely. I couldn't be happy if I wasn't respected. I couldn't be happy if I couldn't whoop a dude's ass. I couldn't be happy in those scenarios, so I made sure none of them scenarios came true. I have earned my happiness via hard work. It's the top of a mountain which I have climbed. I deserve it. I deserve to go to sleep with a smile on my face. Just that's what I can deserve. And every single guy who hasn't got it probably doesn't deserve it. The universe is very giving and very fair. People seem to think that the world is unfair, and those are all the same people who tell themselves they're unlucky. I actually believe the opposite. I believe the universe is a very giving place. I believe God is a very giving being, and that the world, all in all, generally balances out and is pretty fair. If you're the kind of person who deserves a good life and works their ass off and genuinely wants it and tries very hard, guess what you get 99% of the time? A good life. And if you're the kind of person who doesn't really deserve it, slacks 3 days a week, a little bit lazy, snakes his friends, talks behind people back, blah, 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 guess what? Your life ain't all that good. The universe is pretty fair and pretty balanced. I've yet to meet somebody who gets up every day, does what they're supposed to do, works hard, goes to the gym, then goes to work, does their best, makes their money, looks after it, is sensible, doesn't blow it, etc., who then fails. I've never met anybody who fails when they do all the right things. The universe is a very fair and giving place, all in all. There are very few exceptions to that. So when I see somebody who doesn't have the success they want, especially when I see, let's say, a group of people who don't have the success they want, there's no way you're all exceptions to that rule. You may want something, but you certainly don't deserve it, and that's why you don't have it. You shouldn't wake up and say, how happy am I today? How does that affect how I act? That's not how I operate. I wake up and say, what must be done? What will allow me to be proud of myself? What will allow me to achieve? And those things will be done regardless of how I feel. And that's how the most successful people on earth all operate. The most successful people on earth don't only do things because they feel happy about doing them. If you never make a mark on the world, then you effectively never existed. And when you're gone, nobody will care. And that's very important because you have a duty to your ancestors and you have a duty to God. So you must make a choice. And this is a genuine choice for you people at home. Do you want to live in obscurity forever and be invisible and not matter and have an easier life? I would argue that it's not easier because in your heart and in your soul, you're going to feel guilty knowing you could have been something you're not. Or do you want to try your absolute best and struggle and suffer every day of your life, paying the rent for all of the amazing things around you?
We pay endless rent. We pay rent for our bodies. We pay rent for our relationships. We pay rent to keep our kids. We pay rent to keep our business. We pay rent to keep our freedom. Every single day is work to pay the rent. It's absolutely never ending. And you have to make that choice. So if you have a pen and paper in front of you, you need to decide, do you want to be invisible with a lower rent bill? Or do you want to be important and work hard and suffer to make sure that the rent is paid? It's a choice you must make, and it's binary, and you must be extremely dedicated towards the decision you finally make.
Guys, this is some life advice from the top chick. If you're sitting at home and you want to do better than the current position you're in, the first thing you have to do is blame absolutely everything on yourself, whether it's good or bad. Because once you take absolute self-accountability, then you will find actions you can take, steps that you can make, which are going to directly correlate towards your successes. If you blame outside sources, if you say I was unlucky, or the government did this, or this politician, or this person lied about me, then you're blaming other people and you feel helpless. You need to feel in charge. You got to take absolute self-accountability, and that's what chess teaches, because no matter how well you play a game of chess, if you lost, at some point you made a mistake.
Absolutely everything as a man is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to become your best and brightest version of yourself. And you're not going to do that simply by talking it into existence. You need to live it into existence. You need to go out there and do things which are genuinely difficult, genuinely stressful, which are genuinely scary, so you can become the man you want to be. So you have to take responsibility for these things, and you have to seek them and choose and find the correct difficulties for you to overcome so you can build a character worth having. Manhood is exceptionally hard, and life is hard, but how you shape yourself will determine how hard it is for you and how miserable it will be. As a man, there is no easy life. Your life is not about being easy. Your life is not about being happy. Your life is always going to be difficult. All of the pain you feel, all of the sadness you feel, you're supposed to feel as a man, and you have two effective binary choices. You either go through the suffering and go through the trauma and go through the hardship it takes to be a man of value, or you suffer eternity as a nobody. And being invisible, I would argue, is almost worse. You can have a very stress-free life if you work in Starbucks. You don't care about the Starbucks once you clock off. You go home, you play video games, and you exist until you die. That's stress-free, but you have to suffer being a nobody. Alternatively, you can go out there into the world, try and implement your mark on the world, work hard, try to get rich, more money, more problems. You can try and start a business, the stress of that. You can lose your girlfriend because all you're doing is working. This is a new level of stress, a new level of trauma, but at least you'll be a somebody at the end of it. There's two ways to suffer. You either suffer as becoming a somebody, or you suffer as a perpetual and forever nobody.
That's how much you know school's a scam. You don't look at someone rich and respect them thinking he went to school. The people you are learning from in school aren't even rich. Your business professor's never had a business. School's a scam, and it's the biggest scam on earth. The reason it's a scam is because it operates in a vacuum. It operates in a vacuum because it cannot be fairly compared to any other service. So you can get a loan for school, but you can't use that money for anything else. Because if they were to open it up and put the school, the education system, into the fair market of capitalism, it would fail. If I were to give you $100 grand and say you can get a degree, or you can buy a crypto, or you can start your own business, or you can do anything you want, who's going to choose a degree? Nobody! So they say you can only get the money if you use it for education, which allows it to operate inside of a vacuum. Because it operates inside of a vacuum, it is one of the few things on the planet which is allowed to be non-competitive. It's not competitive against any other investment. Everyone knows that. But you can only get the money for that, so you can't get the money to invest in anything else, so you end up doing it, learning something that is outdated, slow to learn. There's more degrees every single year, meaning the value of a degree decreases, and the price goes up every single year.
I believe that it's pain that teaches. I don't believe men especially can learn any way besides pain. We talk about learning a lesson the easy way or the hard way, and I'll tell you something. We've all been offered chances to learn a lesson the easy way our entire lives. And guess what? We didn't learn anything, and we kept doing it. It's natural and intrinsic inside of men. You'll see a man drive a car too fast and almost crash 100 times, and he won't learn his lesson until he's crashed that car. We only learn things the hard way. It's only pain that can teach a man. Every single time something bad happens to me, that's how I see it. I see it as God teaching me to make me more wise, more formidable, a more capable opponent. And that's how you have to approach life. Every single hero in every single movie goes through adversity. There's never been a hero movie where all he does is win. No, to be a hero, you have to suffer. If you're suffering in some degree, even if you're a normal guy with a normal job and you're suffering at your job, or you're heartbroken because your girl left you, or whatever, if you're suffering, that's part of your hero's journey. There is no hero's journey without suffering. If you have an easy life the whole way through, you never get to be a hero. That's the whole point of being a man, is that you're supposed to suffer. You're supposed to eat pain for breakfast. You're supposed to come and grow into a better version of yourself. That's exactly what life's supposed to be about as a man. If you want to be a superhero in life, you need to understand that for 80% of the movie, you're going to suffer. For 80% of the movie, you're going to lose. Watch any superhero movie. For 80% of the movie, it is nothing but pain and frustration and difficulty. And when your life is that way, you have a chance to grow into something fantastic, and you should thank God for every difficult thing he puts in your path. Think about a superhero movie. A man is unfairly imprisoned in a Romanian jail cell and trained so hard he emerges stronger than ever before. That is a movie. You get to live a movie as a man if all you had was some balls. We are living movie scripts. Why? Because we have bravery. Most men sit there and wonder why they're depressed, because you don't get to live a movie. You're not the main character of anything. You're not even a secondary character in anyone else's movie. You're an unimportant nobody because you were afraid your entire life. You lived like a coward your whole life. You were afraid of what might happen if you have some balls. And then you wonder why you're depressed. I'd be depressed if I was you. Of course, your life sucks. I'd rather go to jail as me than live free as you. Because when you're free, you can't even do anything. You can't go where you want. You're broke. You can't have girls don't want you. You can't speak because no one listens. So what are you free to do? You're more in jail than I ever was. My mind is free. I'm allowed to think what I want to think and say what I want to say. They have thoughts and they go, don't know if I should say that. They second guess themselves. They're their own worst enemy. Every single part of me is on my team. I have enemies who want me dead. Fine. But every single part of me, my mind, my hands, my legs, every single part of me is on my team. My body doesn't second guess itself. My mind doesn't turn on itself. We don't break and self-sabotage. There's no civil wars inside of Andrew Tate. A lot of men no longer have shame. You have no shame left. You should be too ashamed to be a coward. You should be too ashamed to do the wrong thing. Where's your shame? Well, we destroy that, right? We destroy that even in schools with men and stuff. I'll tell you something. My brother can shame me into doing something. He can shame me. He can call me a or a coward, and I'll set up and say, no, I'm not, and I'll do the brave thing. Shame works for men sometimes. I say to men all the time, men come to me and say, I can't get a girlfriend. I say, it's because you're a loser. You are a loser. Change that fact. Come to me and prove to me you're not a loser. I will shame him, and he will react to it, and his life will improve. But now we have men with no shame. They'll walk around with no shame at all, and then we wonder why we have a whole bunch of cowards. Cowardice is always the easy choice, but you should feel too much shame to take it. That's the problem. It's the path of man. It's the path of victory, and it's the only path to truce. It's the only path to genuine happiness in your heart. There's one path. There's one. There is one path to happiness, and that is masculine strength, and that is eating pain for breakfast and becoming a better person. The flavor of life is pain. You try to change the flavor, you're going to end up disappointed, you're going to end up weak, you're going to end up miserable. Accept the flavor and learn to love it. That's the only path to genuine competence and happiness within yourself as a man.